In the world of Star Citizen, there is one thing that towers above all else. In people's heart of hearts, this thing is more important than frames per second, more important than lag, more important than paying off the mortgage. That thing is ships. Spaceships are the very beating core of Star Citizen. In fact, the only thing not more important than ships is graphics. But even that is only because without good graphics, we wouldn't be able to see all our beautiful ships in all their glory. And I know there will be people out there on their little pedestals thinking, why, this is an outrageous accusation. I would not sell my grandmother for a Kraken. Don't listen to these guys, they likely just already have all the ships their greedy little ship hoarding hearts can hold. And no matter which category of those you fall into, this video is a video for you. It is not a video about the ships that are, or the ships that were, but about the ships that have not yet come to pass. We're going to dive into it like Gollum into Mount Doom. But first I'd like to announce the winner of the Sitcon Goodie Pack thing. The winner is... John Connor 2001. Most anticipated ship will definitely be an entry combi van type ship. We need to make use of these beautiful locations and visit them and stay around each place for a few days. Congratulations dude, I'll have messaged you already, so check your messages if this is news to you, and I really hope you enjoy your prize. If you know anyone looking to get into Star Citizen, please use one of the codes on screen now for some extra starting credits. There are a few perks for members as well if that's something you'd be interested in. With all that out of the way, let's get on with the show. So, the Polaris. We all know this thing is just around the corner and it's a very big event for Star Citizen fans. We've obviously been able to live out of ships for a while and even carry other small ships around, but this is different for a number of reasons which we'll get into. Now, you'll have to forgive me as I switch into deadly serious mode. I mean, we're talking about ships here, so pull up a chair, get yourself some snacks and let's get into everything we know about this absolute juggernaut of a ship. The Polaris is a Corvette-classed capital ship developed by Robert Space Industries for the United Empire of Earth Navy. Designed for use as both a naval patrol ship and to serve as a flagship of civilian militia operations, the Polaris has the capacity to perform search and rescue operations, strike missions, and general security patrols. While intended for combat situations, the Polaris can also operate as a command centre while providing refuel and repair capabilities from its single small fighter bay. And that right there is the very first big distinction. This will be the very first ship in the game we will be able to rearm and refuel other small ships from. Now the big question right off the bat here is, can I provide that service to other players? How would I protect myself and my ship during that process? As in, what's to stop them just taking over my ship once they land? Also, how would paying for that service work, and how would it be supplied? Do I need a store of missiles and RMC? Could I profit from this by parking up at live events like Xenothreat? That's obviously quite a lot of questions, and I probably don't have the imagination to imagine the true scope of what all this could mean. For the security question, the best answer is probably, you just don't let anyone you don't know on your ship to refuel, ever. Even if they disable shields and weapons and stuff like that, and you can detect all that using target scans, there's no way for you to really enforce keeping them all turned off. You would need a hangar full of fully armed guys to enforce any sort of security there, I think. And even then, it probably wouldn't be worth it in terms of risk versus reward. I can't really see a way to manage it in any sort of robust way. Even if you've got 20 guys in there with railguns, that's still an exploding ship in your hangar and potentially deaths of crew members, etc. But I might just be being really short-sighted there. Let me know your ideas below. I have had about 3 hours sleep right now, and my brain feels like an actual block of cheese. On the plus side, it makes me too tired to give a shit about my crippling imposter syndrome, so silver linings. The main thing I want to get across here is that when they say repair, it's possible they don't mean like what you would do at a normal landing pad using your Mobiglass. I'm not entirely sure about the refuel and restock part, but I'm thinking the repair part will all be done manually with hand tools or an Atlas variant. We could possibly restock missiles manually as well, but since there's no fuel hoses or ways to restock ballistic ammo currently, I think that at least these two functions will be done normally via the mobiGlas screen. And any repair damage above a certain level will just require the use of a legitimate repair bay on a station or something. But if it's just components and hull damage, it shouldn't be a problem. The Polaris was fast-tracked for development following the 2945 Vandal attack on the Vega system. The request proposal specified a smaller first response alternative to the Idris-class frigates currently serving with both the UEE Navy and private concerns. Robert Space Industries' Polaris bid was selected due to its unique combination of a fully equipped small craft hangar and an array of torpedo tubes that let it punch well above its weight class. As part of the UEE Militia Mobilization Initiative, the Polaris is being made available to citizens so they can protect contested and dangerous regions around the Empire. The UEE military will also utilise the Polaris as a standard patrol and picket ship, where it's expected to be especially effective supporting larger fleet movements. A percentage of the funds from the Polaris sale is used to support continued mobilisation and relief efforts across the Empire. So, what sort of layout and facilities can we expect aboard the Polaris? Well, before we do that, let me just say the obvious here. Any of this information is subject to change before release. I'd expect a lot of it to be pretty locked in by now, but you never know. Let's start with the hangar bay. What sizes ships would fit in here? Well, in the video from 2022 we can see that a Sabre will fit in very comfortably. We'll see just what folk manage to fit in reality once it's in our hands, but if this is true, then at the very least we're looking at ships like the Eclipse, the FAC, Gladiator, Terrapin, maybe things like a Santok Yai, the Defender, all the way up to possibly even a Nomad if the clearance is there. You might be struggling with stuff about the size of a Vanguard. If we're keeping things reasonable, that is. Which we won't be. Either way, it's looking like you'll be able to get about 10 or more Furies in there. And that's the only thing that matters, let's face it. The Polaris can also land and has a cargo capacity of 432 at the last check, that might go up, and there's a tractor beam in there as well. It should also be able to house some ground vehicles, hopefully all the way up to a Nova tank, but that is a bit dubious at the moment. Again, I'm not sure about the height clearance, but it should fit everything else to be honest. Definitely ballistas and stuff like that. There's a brig for keeping prisoners in as well, whether that be your common criminal that's engaged in a little unauthorised space karaoke over comms, all the way up to the ruthless war criminals who partake in reckless moonwalking or the use of carelessly insightful naming conventions. Across the way from there we have a medical facility. Pretty sure these are tier 2 beds, but I'm not sure how relevant that is anymore, because all beds can now fully regenerate you out of thin air. And that will never change. Not ever. Not even when the Apollo Medivac and Triage come along. Right? Right? On top of that, the bridge is looking absolutely fantastic. They've opened it up a bit. It still has the potentially annoying but iconic spars, but the windscreen looks massive, so I doubt it will be an issue. It looks like there's a comfortable amount of space in here, and it has to be said, I'm already getting very heavy Starship bridge crew vibes in here, like the commander seat in the middle, the pilot seat on one side, and maybe navigation and shield management guy over here. Guys, it is happening.
What is he doing?
He's beginning to believe.
That's my excited noise. Behind that there's the mandatory escape pods, then there's a captain's office and quarters and a CEO's office. You know, for those discreet conversations you need to have not in front of the crew. Usually involving strapping one of them into a dud torpedo and firing them into an enemy's ship to eat all their supplies. There's crew bunks and showers, and the Polaris is capable of crewing up to 12 people, and this seems to be supported by the number of beds available, although you could probably sleep a few more in the brig if necessary. The recreation area seems like a pretty decent sized space, and also looks as if it will now double as the mess hall, with what could be a kitchen leading off from that as we just come out of the shot here. After that we have the engine room, and it looks as if it's going to be pretty expansive. and split into at least 2 floors. The upper floor will house some of the standard components, and the lower deck will have access to the larger ones. As far as we know, that will be capital size shields, power generator and coolers, but we're unsure of how many of each. The game is shifting a lot in the components area right now as we get ready for the resource network to launch, so guessing on that might be a bit pointless really, and that only leaves the torpedo room. Now there are 4 size 10 torpedo launchers on this thing. Just let that sink in for a while. It can hold 28 torpedoes in total. I'm guessing each launcher will have a small magazine, but possibly not, and there will be the option to manually reload that if need be. Launching 4 size 10s simultaneously is an absolutely terrifying prospect, to be honest. That is just about capable of taking out an Idris in a single volley, if you can actually get them to land on target given all the PDC fire ships that size give off. Speaking of point defence cannons, these are turrets that will autonomously track and shoot down incoming missiles. On the Polaris, it's been revealed that there will be 7 of these turrets. They will all be laser repeaters, and there are 3 on the top and 4 on the bottom. It also has a missile launcher embedded on the left and right side behind the cockpit. Each one can fire 16 size 3 arrestor missiles. Under the nose there is a manned turret with 2 size 6 ballistics on it, and that would appear to be bespoke, as in you probably won't be able to switch out the guns. But that's just a guess from me, I couldn't find exactly where that got said. The top 2 manned turrets will now have quad size 4s on each. There was originally more turrets planned, so we can assume that they are still there, so there should be another 2 manned with quad size 4s on each. A remote turret with quad size 4s on the underside rear, and a remote rocket launcher that can fire 12 size 2 ignites on the rear top side. So, what are we going to be using this for and how will it perform? Well, combat, obviously. But given the sheer amount of forward-facing weapons here, it means we will be able to fight targets nose on. This will allow us to fire the disgusting amount of rocket-propelled pain sausages whilst keeping our biggest guns on track, but also keep our profile smaller at the same time. It's going to be unstoppable. Until the day a mass-driven tungsten slug the size of a car passes through your cockpit window at 5,000 meters a second. Till then, we can swarm the enemy ship with ballistic furies and disable their turrets and PDCs, and keep rearming them and sending them back out, splitting up the enemy's attention and combat effectiveness. Pretty soon my space sim Star Citizens of Stanton, we will be having massive ship-on-ship skirmishes for the serially sought-after status of Solar System's Sovereign Supreme. For fuck's sake, Stephen! For the serially sought-after status of Solar System's Sovereign Supreme. That took me about 20 tries, dude. Anyway, if that's not your immediate cup of tea, then you could always try delivering some. The cargo capacity is pretty hefty, and although I'd probably question the cost effectiveness of running an entire Corvette for dropping off 500 crates of Rantadung, that will without a doubt be the safest, most well protected Rantadung in the history of Ranter related bowel movements. Generally though, I like to think of it as a general meeting point for you and your friends, and it will just go from place to place performing all variety of tasks and shenanigans, serving as headquarters and ultimate backup for when any situation starts to go sideways. Search and rescue, perfect. Bounty hunting, done. Salvage or mining protection, in the bag. Box delivery, executed with extreme prejudice. For the first time we might actually be able to defend Jumptown from A2s with this thing. Maybe. I suppose the real question now is, who will defend Jumptown from the Polaris? As always, thank you for watching my cringy face flappings about the Polaris. I will endeavour to do more of these, so stay tuned and subscribe for that noise. Let me know below what ship you'd like to see covered. During the week my monitor completely broke on me and has a lot of black bars going up it, and me being the rancid peasant that I am, I'm skint until after Christmas, so I decided to set up a Throne account. I was going to ask you if you could contribute, but after just 24 hours on Twitter, the total was met. The generosity of this community has absolutely blown me away, and I'd like to just say a quick thank you to some people. First up, this was all Rubensaurus's idea. You can blame him. This wouldn't have even happened without him, so thank you for that, Ruben. And for donations, I'd like to thank Ruben again, Citizen of the Verse, Steel Wicker, Hattori Blade, a handful of anonymous people, Abdi Walk, and anyone that even retweeted the tweet, to be honest. Then Michael Pace and JP Stravinsky came in at the end with just some face-melting donations and got us over the line. The new screen has been ordered. I honestly can't wait to get back to full PC gaming. My Steam Deck hasn't seen this much use, like ever, if I'm being honest. You guys have my eternal gratitude. Star Citizen fans are just amazing, to be honest. You guys are the tip of the spear. I'll try and not to break anything else. Thank you again from the bottom of my heart. 07 guys.